Hi, and welcome to Crystal Speak. This is Vlatka, the Sound Shamaness, and today we're going to focus on this Lemurian crystal, which has a natural, very large talismanic Isis face, and next to it, it has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly a six-sided face. If it's a five-sided face, it reinforces the goddess, divine feminine energy, as well as the connection to Sirius. If it's a four-sided face like the other side is, then it's a crystal for introspection. Now, this crystal also has babies embedded in it, and you can't see this, but inside it, there's a crystal that's suspended in it. It has a beautifully self-healed impression. It has this very unique companion that's in almost Japan law. Not quite, almost. And it's got Lemurian etchings all over it. Oh, it also has some Lemurian seed striations that are really prominent on this side. So we're going to start with a song and then go into a story that the crystal has inspired that might give you some hints and clues as to how to work with the crystal if it is part of your keeping. And if it's not, then perhaps it'll speak to a crystal that you do have in your keeping and how you might work with it. And here we go. Hey, hayum. Hoo-ah-woo, hoo-ah-woo. Hoo-ah-woo, hoo-ah-woo, hey-ah-yo, mama-oo, mama-oo, mama-oo. Hey, hayo, hayo, him. Hey, hayo, Hoo-ah-woo, hey-ah-yo, hoo-ah-woo, hey-ah-yo, hey, hayo, hayo, him, hey, hayo, hayo, ha, hey, hayo, hayo, hey, so a long time ago, in that land shrouded by mist that some know as Lemuria, there lived a woman who felt that her destiny was to find crystals and bring them to other people so that they may know that they are of their keeping. Now, the problem that she had is sometimes she would doubt herself. So she would doubt that destiny. Other times she would follow and trust her intuition. On one such occasion, she was drawn to the ocean, and she felt the pull was so strong that she felt that because she was drawn to the ocean in such a strong way, that there for sure would be a crystal somewhere on the beach waiting for her so that she could help it find its new keeper. Now, when she finally got to the ocean, she looked around and she didn't see anything. She did, though, however, notice that the mist was encroaching upon her. And, well, what was that in the mist? She looked and looked again, and there seemed to be a person or an apparition. Whatever it was, it scared her. And so she started to head in the opposite direction. But there was something that pulled at her heart, at her mind, at her solar plexus. It was the same kind of pull and feeling she normally had when there was a crystal calling. So, despite her fear, she decided to follow that calling. So she turned back and walked very slowly and very deliberately into that mist. Now, the mist was thick. It was almost like a fog. And yet, the more she moved further into that mist, the clearer the person that was sitting in that mist became. Again, her heart started to race as she saw this shrouded one. She couldn't tell whether it was a woman or a man, a grandfather or a grandmother, but as she got closer, she saw the walking stick and she saw the gnarled fingers. Again, she couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman. But clearly this was an old one, an old shrouded one. And even though her heart was beating so fast, it felt like it was just going to pop out of her chest, she somehow drew upon that courage deep down within her and walked closer to this old one. And she knew not to say anything, but just to sit and be and breathe and listen to her wild heart beating. Eventually, very ever so quietly and slowly, this old one, this shrouded one, began to speak. There was one eye that seemed to emanate or radiate pinpoint of light. So this woman with the calling to work with crystals looked into that pinpoint of light and focused there. And this old one peered into her as though she could see right into the depths of her soul. And this shrouded old one said, "You doubt yourself too much. You begin to trust yourself and move forward, and then all this doubt comes in like an avalanche and stops you." And this younger woman listened and nodded. She knew it was true. She couldn't stop gazing into that one piercing eye. And the shrouded one continued and said, "It's coming from a future you, this distortion." "Oh," said the younger woman, "you mean 10 years from now, 15, 20? Mm-mm," said the old one. "Mm-mm. No, many lifetimes from now. There's a future you, many lifetimes from now, who doubts herself. She is so mired in that doubt that it's impacting you. And when you doubt yourself, you impact her. But that can be changed. You can impact one another in a positive way." Well, the young woman was confused. Well, how could we do that? She couldn't imagine how that was possible, let alone imagining that there was a future her however many lifetimes from now. So the shrouded one, she dug deep into her cape, into the layers and folds of the fabric. And out she pulled this crystal. And at first, she didn't hand it over to the young woman. Instead, she worked hand magic on the crystal. She touched the crystal to her brow and filled it with healing resonance. She touched the crystal to her heart, this old shrouded one, and she made a sound. Om. And she filled that crystal with healing resonance and knowing that at this point was beyond the young woman. But when she was ready, it would surface. Then she handed the crystal to the young woman. And the young woman felt such joy. She began to weep. She knew this crystal was for her. It was of her keeping. She began to weep. It touched her heart and it touched her mind. And something moved. Not a physical movement, but a movement of heart and mind. A movement of emotion. All she could do was just be. Be with this crystal consciousness. Be with this old one. And when that moment was over, she knew she could revisit that moment again by connecting with the crystal and bringing it to her mind and to her heart and breathing in the healing and bringing in the knowing and bringing in the confidence and the trust that she needed to overcome the self-doubt. And she knew, somehow she knew, that as she worked with this crystal, it would impact that future self. And that future self would shift and change. And she would impact her and the work that she was doing with the crystal. It wasn't linear. It wasn't logical. Seldom does magic work that way. She thanked this old one. And the old one disappeared with the mist. And the young woman was left with the crystal on the beach. And when she was ready, she went back to the forest land, back to her home. Only this time, different and changed. And that, my friend, is the end of the story. Hey-ah-yo, hey-ah-yo, way-ah-yo, hey-ah-yo, hey-ah-yo, ha-woo, hey-ah-yo, ha-woo, hey-ah, hey-ah, hey-ah-yo. Thank you for viewing. Have a beautiful day with your own very unique crystal play. Bye for now.